Yeah. True story, you dealing with the best in chess. Fish gang, where you at? Time to represent. Coach, show them how we run it. It's time to do it big. Let the world stream live. You can find him on Twitch. Right from the opening until he holla checkmate. Coach keep it entertaining, yeah, all day. Some people donate, some try to hate. Tell him don't hide. Check him online, chess.com. Yeah, that's where it goes down. He don't see no competition every time he look around. People yelling true story, sounding like Coach. If you ready, come rock with him. You know how it goes. Hey, yeah.
Good day, good day. It's Coach Frank here with another game review, and this is number 109, game review number 109. Today we're going over one of Ordell Robbie's games, and we're not going to try to, cover every aspect of what should be accomplished in a game, but we want to hit on a couple key points that I did observe in this game. So one of the first things that we talk about is getting control over the center, the ABCs of chess. Activate your pieces, be safe with your king, centralize your pieces. That is an objective in the beginning of the game, so you should be trying to put some level of influence over these four center squares at the very outset, which is accomplished by both players in this game. And so far, there's nothing wrong here. This is natural development. Black played d6 and white castle. Now, kudos. We've canceled in the first four moves, and now it is time to start attacking. We should be looking for moves that are aggressive and that put pressure on black, because black is at least 3 moves from getting his king safe. So we need to be moving double time to try to prevent black from doing just that. So in this game, black played bishop d7 and white played c3. I'm not terribly excited about this c3 move, but it's not a blunder. It might be an inaccuracy, but we're not going to spend a lot of energy on it since it did not cost white anything in this particular position. However, this position, I think the first thing that we should be thinking about is the fact that this bishop has moved twice, and it has moved to a square that is not dangerous for white, because this knight is double protected by 2 pieces. Yes, it's a pin, but it is the objective of white to get on the king. So making a move like d5 right away invariably would win some material. Say, for example, in this position, white played rook e1. Instead, if he had, say, pushed the d-pawn and black responded here, we might be able to do something like this, because the knight is under attack, right? He's not going in here. He might go in here, but either one of those moves will get him into trouble. Retreating is also an idea, so let's just try to find out where he might go. Let's one at a time. We know he's not going here because we just take the knight. So that's a very simple move. We know he's not going here because we can also take the knight, with the check. So that's also a very simple move. We know he's not going here because we might decide to take the knight. If bishop takes bishop, we might take another piece. If he takes the queen, we can take his queen. I'm not so sure. He might try this. We come out. The bishop's under attack. If he takes our knight, we take his bishop. And at the end of the day, we still have everything that we want. It's not a good plan for black. So that move is not going to be recommended. If he retreats his knight, then we might decide to was it check that I was looking at? Let's see. We might just, first of all, retreating a knight prevents the king from getting safe that direction. So we might just, natural development. Since he can't go anywhere, natural development looks like a order of the day. And then he would have to probably keep going if he wants to get his king safe. Push, take. Pawn push. Okay. I'm looking at this knight over here. Maybe we kick him now. I'm not terribly excited about that move because we have a principle that says avoid pushing pawns in front of the king unless it absolutely stops mate. In this case, it has nothing to do with anything, but it does kind of force his hand because retreating all the way back to the d7 square is probably not attractive. So, and then also the retreating to h5 is probably losing a piece. So he's probably going to capture. This allows us to hold this pawn twice. Bishop d7. I mean, bishop e7 is probably an idea, but queen here, putting some pressure on this guy. It's probably a very playable game. I don't think that this is losing for either side, but it's definitely better than what actually happened in the game. So in the text, the game continued. Rook e1, bishop e7, and then he kicked. For some reason, any one of these pawns just screams at me as a stronger move. But pushing the bishop, making the bishop go to a better square is not something I would have been doing. So he captures, and now it is too late to do anything about the pin that was there. In fact, your pawn is under attack. So you push the pawn. It's possible that we might have wanted to, do something like this, or possibly something like this. I'm not excited about pushing the pawn. I think it was probably a better idea to leave that pawn right where it was because it's limiting the squares that black could move to. So anyway, the pawn got pushed, tempoed, an exchange took place, and now black has chosen to put his pawns on the dark squares, which is the same color as his bishop. So we're happy about that idea. The problem is it's also the same color as our bishop. So, both of these bishops are probably going to want to leave the board in the very near future. The game continued, he naturally developed, the king got kicked. Now, we want to count squares here instead of just randomly moving our queen. The retreat all the way back to this square is not something I'm terribly excited with. Since there's no way for him to attack our queen from the c6 square, I probably would have moved my queen in there with the idea of putting pressure on the c file in the immediate future. It's probably what I would have done. I don't know what retreating to e2 accomplishes. Still don't understand what white's plan is here. Black is relocating his pieces to better squares. Hopefully this bishop is moving. It did move, but it chose to stop the knight from coming to this direction instead of the tempo that is probably going to happen, and it does. Now the queen runs over here attacking nothing and is lonely. I don't know if I like these queen moves. It just seems quite random. And then here we go, g6, making the queen move again, and the queen has running out of squares. It does not have these squares to go to. It does have this square, however, and that's where he goes, but he's going to get kicked again. He's going to get kicked again, so this is going to be bad. The fork is just a tricky knight is getting busy from with his Superman cape in the middle of the board, putting all kinds of pressure. However, queen takes bishop is a move. Let's see if that got played. It did not. So we are attacking the bishop twice here, and it is only defended once. So we probably should have ate that bishop. Yes, he could take our rook, but we're going to be able to capture that knight, and we would have a knight and a bishop for a rook. So we missed the first opportunity. And by the way, this is forced. Instead of queen h6 here, we're threatening mate, so he doesn't even have time to take the rook right away. He's got to take the queen. Capture, 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 and with this knight move, I think that white is doing just fine in the position, and that was a missed opportunity to wrest the initiative from black. So queen h6, not so sure what that accomplishes. Capture, 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 and now the mating material that white once needed is no longer available. This move looks interesting. This is an interesting move. Let's just take a quick look. Knight here, because he cannot capture, right? Because he would lose his queen. So knight here also holds the queen to this diagonal because of the mate threat. So if the queen decides to go snapping on pawns, then we would have this very strong move, cutting off the queen from protection of the g7 square. And if the knight would be captured now, then this rook lift could yield dividends for the white player. You might argue, what if black chose to defend the g3 square? Well, we would simply check him. The king would have to go. We check him again. King steps here, and then we take the pawn with the threat of check coming. And that should lead to a checkmate in the very near future. Pawn takes, just loses, right? Check, check, and checkmate, for example. And perhaps the king, well, black wants to push this pawn somewhere. Any pawn move might lend itself to check. Oh, he's got this square now. I see. We still threaten mate. No, we can't because this pawn is loose. How would we deal with this? We can't mate him here and defend the square at the same time. So maybe we just have to run this guy on in. Not terribly excited about this idea. Maybe not. I don't like this plan. So if this pawn push, maybe we have to take en passant or push past something. Check. This would be a trouble. This pawn push is bad for white. So maybe we have to do something else here. Take. This pawn push could be annoying. In fact, this is probably black's best move in the position. All right, that didn't happen. So we continue. Knight f3 got played. Queen did take the pawn. Instead of attacking this square and threatening mate right away, allowing queen to retreat, I think we have to do the same idea we discussed before, and that is cut off communication from the queen with the threat of playing knight g5 next. I think that would have been a little bit better. The timing of the attack is important. So queen g7, now white is being forced to retreat. Unfortunately, black played f6, allowing this fork and a missed opportunity to get the exchange right here. Queen takes queen, check. Let's look at it. Should win some material. This doesn't work. All of this is bad for black. So that's a miss. He retreated. The knight comes over. There's a fork also missed here. If he wants to continue to go for the exchange, the tricky knight can do so. However, I do acknowledge that that knight is crazy in the position and he might not want a rook. But this move, I'm not so sure is ideal either. It's why are you pushing a pawn in front of your king? I can't quite understand what the objective is there, but okay, the rooks have separated. The queen has chosen the path that that rook could have taken. A free pawn has been snatched, and he ignored the fact that the rook would be under attack afterwards and has gotten himself into a world of hurt. So the finish was quite nice because of the superior minor piece. Kudos to OR for finding that mating pattern. But during the early points in the game, I think, simple ideas were missed. Putting pressure on the pin piece, for example, is a resounding theme that should not be missed in the future. So again, this is Coach Frank with ChessCoachNet. You follow us on Twitter, Real Chess Coach, with another game analysis.
Yeah. True story, you dealing with the best in chess. Fish gang, where you at? Time to represent. Coach, show them how we run it. It's time to do it big. Let the world stream live. You can find them on Twitch.